Welcome back to another episode of the weekly roundup with Prop News Time. Here we sit down with industry experts and talk to them about everything that's happening currently in the real estate industry in India and across the globe. With us today is an industry expert and a veteran, Mr. Balaji Rao. So, sir, I'd like to start with talking about the recent repo rate cut. This has been the second cut this year. The RBI has brought it down to 6%. Now, a lot of industry experts feel that these recent cuts, coupled with the tax incentives announced in the union budget, are going to spur growth in the real estate market, especially with residential real estate. It's going to become cheaper for people to buy houses. What are your thoughts?
See, no doubt the repo cut that has been announced will help because it's one of the factors in the mortgage loans. Most of the sales which take place now in the residential segment have mortgage loans attached to it. So if that is so, and if your loan lending rate comes down and you also find that the EMI outlay comes down because of that, so naturally it will help more people to buy homes because it becomes more affordable. So is it a positive factor? Yes. But is it alone sufficient to move the needle? No. Because I truly believe, as I keep reiterating, that real estate also works a lot on the overall sentiment. So if the overall sentiment, as we are finding today, is very volatile,
Right.
then I don't see real estate per se being chased after unless somebody is actually very much in need of a house. You understand? So they'll wait for things to settle down so that your wealth effect stands more or less stable, if not growing, before you take this major step of buying a house.
Right.
But should we carry on with incentives of repo rate cuts or tax incentives or other benefits? Yes, because I again believe that the real estate sector, being domestically oriented, would be one of the biggest growth engines for the economy in the future. So put it in all perspective, it is a positive step, but because of that, would you see suddenly a sudden swing in sales volumes? I don't think so. It wouldn't happen that way. But it's a good step and it is a necessary step because as we find inflation coming down and it has been trending down over the last few quarters, and right now I think RBI talks about 3.3%. So I would feel your repo rate should also be in line with that.
Right.
So that your actual interest rate should be always in the region of 2 to 2.5%.
Okay.
So put all these factors together, yes, it's a good point, but is it sufficient to move the needle? No, as I reiterate.
All right. Of housing affordability has been the lowest today in over a decade. So will it at least impact housing affordability in the short run?
Yes, it impacts housing affordability because simply put, what happens is if your EMI outlay becomes lesser, in a way most people will be eligible for a higher loan amount. Because I am willing to pay a certain EMI. Let's say I'm willing to pay 60,000 EMI. And today I find I can get only 50 lakhs for it. But because of a rate cut, it becomes 55 lakhs. So I'm in a better position to go and buy a house. So will it apply to affordability? Yes, it will apply directly. But also affordability has been high in a country like India because supply trails demand. So demand is always already there and then supply is coming in to meet the demand.
Right.
So when you have a gap between supply and demand, the affordability, that means the pricing will always be stronger.
Right.
You understand? It's a seller's market though more than a buyer's market. So the only place where you see prices soft is where there's a mismatch between the price product and the market. So I have brought in a product in a particular micro locality which the market in that locality cannot afford.
Okay.
You understand? So then there is a mismatch and the demand will not be there.
Right.
Because it's an outpriced product. It's an outlier, what we call. But if you're within the bell curve and you have brought in a product suited for that particular micro market, then naturally, if the demand is more than supply, the price will always be pretty much stable.
Right.
So people forget that and they think that in times of, let's say, not recession, but even sort of a stagnation or plateauing, has demand fallen off? No, demand can never fall off.
Right.
If half your city's population is living in slums, how will it fall off? Everybody
Correct.
needs a home.
Yes.
They need the right home,
Right.
whether it's an affordable home, low income home, or a mid income home. They need the right home. And if they have the home, they want to buy it. Who doesn't want to buy a house?
Correct.
So those ensure that the price remains high, and that is the reason why price affordability in a developing country like India remains high, because there's a lot of people coming out of poverty.
Right. So there is an argument that affordable housing supply has been dipping for the last 2 years, and a lot of when you read papers about homeowners or people who are aspiring to buy houses, to correct myself, say that the options are very slim, and most you see most developers focusing on luxury or affordable luxury, so as to say, and houses below 1 crore, if I consider them to be affordable housing units, those are very few in metro cities such as Mumbai or Delhi.
See, there are a number of reasons for that. One, real estate per se is a very diffused market. See, it's not like the automobile market. You don't have 20 manufacturers, so each manufacturer is of size and scale. So they will figure out how much they should bring in, whether it's at the top end or across the spectrum. So to an individual small developer, he might think he wants to maximize his margin, and whenever the market is buoyant, he immediately thinks of making a luxury home.
Okay.
So what he should be selling at, for say, for 65 lakhs, he's trying to put some amenities and say let it go at 95 lakhs.
Right.
So they all try to push that so the margins get higher.
Right.
The market pushes back, so sometimes he will come down also. So it's one of the reasons is because it's not an organized market.
Okay.
Okay. But also the reason is that the price of land is going up.
Okay.
Because if your infrastructure is not spreading,
Okay. Yes.
then the density in an inbuilt location becomes higher. If the density in an inbuilt location becomes higher, that means the price of land is higher.
Right.
Today, within the city of Mumbai, for example, it's not very, not very difficult to achieve a price of even 500 crores an acre in certain localities, or 1,000 crores an acre, because all this is becoming higher because people want to be within that inbuilt location.
Right.
And why do they want to be? Because they enjoy better infrastructure. If the same thing gets extended and is going more and more extensively outside, then slowly the prices will come down.
Okay.
You understand?
Right.
So these are all linked to also more of infrastructure and land prices.
Right.
Because it's not the component of construction price. So there are two things which are really defining, if I want to summarize.
Yes.
One is the greed of a developer to milk his project because he thinks he's got a hot location, and so can I maximize it by saying it's a luxury dream home?
Yes.
And two is the land prices continuously rise because our infrastructure is always lagging behind the density of population and the demand.
Right.
So these two tend to raise the prices, and so affordable housing as a result takes a hit because it cannot be within the inbuilt locations. It has to be far out. If it is far out, then there is no infrastructure.
Correct.
So
Exactly.
even a developer hesitates because he finds it more difficult to sell.
Correct.
So naturally, the demand, supply, everything gets skewed.
Understood. All right. Now, there are other reports that have come out recently talking about how private equity investments in Indian real estate has been on a downward trajectory. The last 5 years, it's been declining. Though in the last, say, about 6 months, we've had a couple of big deals that have taken place. So the hope is that it's going to come, start moving upwards again. Now, few people have said that there seems to be a growing interest with foreign players in residential real estate in India. We've seen that with Blackstone's recent deal with Kolte Patil and even Alpha Wave Group's investment in Oberoi Realty. Do you agree that there is a growing interest?
Oh, well, a lot of questions in that, but if I break it up, one, private equity investments into the real estate sector, or FDI as we call it, should not be the what I would call the vanguard. It should not be in the vanguard and leading the charge. It's only as a catalyst. No foreign investor comes here for the love of this country or economy.
Right.
Let's be very clear.
Yeah.
They come here when they see an opportunity.
Understood.
The opportunity comes up because the Indian investor, the domestic investor, institutional or retail, is not grabbing that opportunity.
Okay.
So they try to get in quickly and get out also quickly.
Right.
Very few people stay on for a long tenure. So they are opportunistic players who can catalyze a market, what we call. So they are playing a game which is good. They show us the way that they can make money, but domestic investors have to step in and take it from them.
Right.
They are not going to hold on.
Right.
Because they have no love lost for the country or the economy.
Right.
You understand? So if you're talking about the second part of your question, where you're talking to foreign investors, have they started looking with a lot of interest into the residential segment? Yes, they have. Why? Because they see an opportunity.
Right.
And whenever they see an opportunity, they rush it. And they have to do it with local developers because they won't be able to manage the environment.
I understand.
So they will tie up with local developers, just like they did in commercial also.
Right.
So, and they will try and rush into a segment where they see an opportunity.
Right.
And we wait for those foreign investors to rush in for us to be convinced that yes, there is an opportunity. It happens even in the stock markets.
Right.
But today, slowly the DIIs, what we call the domestic institutional investors, are slowly overtaking the FIIs.
Correct.
Yes. Because it doesn't matter. I don't think it's wrong. Maybe they are doing better research, or maybe they are being able to view it from the lens of what happened in developed countries to know this can happen also in India.
Right.
So they come in early.
Right.
But they will also get off early. And when somebody else has to board the plane.
Right.
So it is a question of how does the domestic investor see it. So they come in and lead the charge sometimes, funnily, and we have to come in and fill the breach or fill the gaps and pick it up from them, the slack.
All right.
And that's going to happen even in residential, the way I look at it.
So next, I'd like to talk to you about the recent land deals in BKC. MMRDA leased out 3 commercial land parcels for a period of 80 years. Now, the Grade A office supply in BKC is currently at 11 million square feet approximately, with about 3.5 square feet that's planned or currently under construction. Do you see, with the current absorption rates, if it were to continue through this year and next year, do you see that maybe there might be an oversupply?
I'll give you a statistic which is very interesting and it will last you a long time. India's total Grade A commercial space all over India, including all the major metropolitan cities, is roughly construed to be maybe around 600 million, 650 million square feet. And in a place called Manhattan in New York,
Yes.
this office stock will also be around 550 to 600 million square feet in one place. So when you talk about 11 million, 12 million, 20 million, 30 million, is not going to move the needle. Overall, if we believe we'll become, as we are sure on the way to become the third largest economy and a superpower, commercial will be also there in the forefront.
Right.
The work from home culture is slowly dwindling. And if commercial is going to be there, then all these places which are known as the so-called CBD,
Right.
or the most sought after areas, will they continue to do well? It's a no-brainer.
Okay.
That is why whether you see investors from Japan or anywhere else bidding aggressively for this, it will continue. because we are only seeing the tip of the iceberg, as I say. Everybody keeps asking me, oh my God, are we going to be satiated with commercial? We are nothing in commercial if you look at a developed economy.
We've only scratched the surface.
So it is, I think we are going to go way above. So is there a lot of upside? Yes, there's a lot of upside to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Is it all going to be in BKC? No.
Right.
It'll always be spread out.
Yeah.
So there will be the CBD area, there will be the SBD area, there will be the PBD or peripheral business districts. So there will be all sorts of developments everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But is commercial sector going to grow?
Yes.
It's a given, yes.
All right. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Kavi.
That's a wrap for this week's episode. Stay tuned to know more. If you are interested and you'd like to get notifications, don't forget to hit the bell icon.